Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chapter 3 of Anatomy and Physiology. We are finally getting ourselves into organ systems. So what is an organ system? An organ system is a group of organs all working together in order to perform a function. Right? Basically, a bunch of different organs working together. Cool? Cool. The organ system we're getting into now is called the integumentary system. So what is that? Well, let's dive in and find out. So the integumentary system, we have 13 vocabs for this, and it's actually not too bad. Some of them are very easy vocab words, big words with easy definitions. Right? So what is the integumentary system? Your first word, integumentary, is your membranes and the things in them. Right? Basically, we are talking about your skin, but your skin is not an organ system. It is an organ. All skin across your entire body counts as one organ made up of a bunch of different tissues, but it is its own one organ, which means this is an organ system. There are other similar organs like that. That's right, guys. Your skin is a membrane that surrounds your body, but you also have other membranes inside your body as well. Those also count. 2 and 3. 2 is serous membrane, and 3 is mucous membrane. I've decided that I'm going to switch them around. I think it makes more sense to talk about mucous membrane first. I'll come back to serous membrane. So the mucous membrane is the membrane that covers the body cavities that opens to the outside. What does that mean? Body cavities that opens to the outside. I mean spaces inside your body that actually have an exit to the outside world. I don't know if you guys ever watch Magic School Bus. It's kind of an old show. If you ever seen it, you've probably only seen it in school. But there's an episode where they shrink down and go inside one of the kids' bodies. And they go in through the mouth, down the throat, and into the stomach. So they're inside the stomach. They're inside the body, but they do have an escape route. They can go right back up the throat and out the mouth, and that is an exit to the outside world, which means the mouth, the throat, this tube here we call the esophagus, and the inside of the stomach is all lined with this skin-like material. It's not skin, it's a membrane, and it's called the mucous membrane. Any cavity that you can get an exit to the outside has that. Your lungs also have an exit through the nose and mouth, so they also have a mucous membrane. So why mucus? What is mucus? Mucus is a nicer, sciencey word for all the goopy stuff coming out your nose. That is there to collect dust and grime so it doesn't go through your whole body. You can get rid of it easier. And it's there so that dry air doesn't dry out your insides. So it's a protective layer. Serous membrane, going back up to number 2, is a membrane that covers body cavities that lack openings to the outside world, meaning if you're there, you do not have an escape. So if you, going back to the previous one, if you are inside that stomach, if scroll down, this person doesn't seem to have a stomach. If you were to cut your way out of the stomach and then be on top of the stomach, so you're inside this person's cavity, you have no way out. You're bumping against the walls. And the only way to get out is to cut into one of these other tubes, right? So you're stuck in here. That would be lined with serous membrane. And the serous membrane is covered in something we call a serous fluid. What does that do? It's a lubrication, right? Serous fluid just keeps your insides nice and lubricated, so when you're moving around, they're not like rubbing past each other and nothing hurts. So it's a good thing. So serous membrane is on things that are trapped inside. Mucous membranes are on things that have an exit out. 4, synovial membrane, the membrane that covers the end of bones at joints. What you're looking at in this picture is a shoulder. Right? So this is the bone in the arm. It's called the humerus bone. And so we're looking at some shoulder bones up here, some muscles, and we learned last chapter that you have fat in between for cushioning, you have cartilage in there for protection. What I don't think I told you was you also have a little water balloon in there. Now, that's really important. That water is called synovial fluid. And the membrane surrounding that synovial fluid would be the synovial membrane. So you got a nice little water balloon cushion. Okay. Number 5, easiest definition you will ever get in any of my classes. Cutaneous membrane. That is your fancy sciencey word for skin. Right? All of your skin on the outside of your body is your cutaneous membrane. So those other membranes that we just talked about are not part of this. This is just the skin you think of when I say skin. And you may have heard before that your skin has 3 layers. Thinking about getting burnt, you have a 1st-degree burn, 2nd-degree burn, and a 3rd-degree burn because you have 3 layers to burn away. And those 3 layers are your next 3 words: epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous layer. So I'm going to scroll out in a second, so let me get bigger and you guys can see these definitions. Now, if you're writing this down, now's a good time to pause. All right, I'm assuming you paused, wrote it down, and unpaused. So I'm going to actually zoom out so you can see better. This picture is of skin. I've showed you a picture similar to this in the last chapter. And you can see 3 main layers. I bracketed off right here: epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous. Epidermis, I can scroll back up, you can get the definition up here. Epidermis is what we talked about last chapter. This is the epithelial tissue. In this case, since it's your skin, it is the stratified squamous epithelium. Many, many layers of flat cells. And underneath that is a layer of dense connective tissue called the dermis. And inside that dermis, you have things like blood vessels and nerves and sweat glands and hair and other glands not shown in this picture. Right? So the dermis, that connective tissue, is holding all of that stuff in place. And then underneath that, your 3rd layer is known as the subcutaneous layer. Okay. Break this word down. Sub means beneath, below, the bottom level, something like that. And cutaneous, that's a vocab word, your skin. So this is the bottom of your skin. It is made of really loose connective tissue, fat mostly, and also bigger blood vessels and nerves that are on their way to the dermis. But this is your fatty layer. It is there for protection, so you get some padding. It's there for storage, so you have energy when you need it. And it's there for insulation to keep warmth in. So this fat is good fat. Those are your 3 layers of skin. Number 9, keratinization. Keratinization is a weird word. There is a protein called keratin, and that protein's job is to act like kind of a biological cement. So when those skin cells die, you keratinize your dead skin cells. So if you look at this picture, this is the epidermis. This is, if you look at it again, back up here, we got the pink layer and the white layer. Right? So all of this down here is the pink living layer, and then up here that's white is that dead white layer. And as they get up here, remember, young cells are nice and round, but as they get older, they're going to flatten out because they're squamous. And then when they die, the dead squamous cells get cemented into a hard protective layer. This is what we use in order to keep us safe from bacteria. It makes it harder for us to get cut. So it's a good thing. 10, melanin. It is a pigment that provides skin color. And have you ever learned about pigments? You know that it is a molecule whose only job is to be a certain color. And that's it. Melanin's job is to be brown. That's it. That's its whole job, be brown. And it just so happens, brown has another side effect that we like to use. Brown pigments happen to act as a natural sunblock. So those of you who have darker skin tones, you have a lot more melanin than people with lighter skin tones. And that's a good thing because you are protecting yourself from excessive sunlight. It means that your ancestors probably lived in an area with more sun. If you have lighter skin tones, it means your ancestors probably came from some place with less sun because you do need some sunlight. So if you don't get enough, it's good to have a lighter skin tone so you can let some of the sunlight give you vitamin D for your bones. Hair follicle. We are going to be talking about the hair in your skin as well. And a lot of people get follicle and root confused. When you pull a hair out and you see a little white knob at the bottom, people say that's the root. No, that's actually not. What you did was pulled a bunch of cells out of your skin along with the hair, and those cells are called the follicle. This picture is not too good. This is actually mislabeled, but I do have a better picture for you. Here we go. So here, if you look up here at the surface, we got the epithelial and we got the young stratified squamous epithelial. And if you follow it going all the way down around the hair, that's your follicle. It is a bunch of skin cells that as they reproduce themselves, the new cells get added to the hair and they become strongly keratinized. And just like before, up here at the surface where we keratinize the cell so you can get that strong protective layer, we add even more keratin to strengthen it even more, and that turns it into hair in the hair root. In 12 and 13, we are talking about glands. So before I actually talk about those definitions, I got to ask, what is a gland? Well, a gland is a clump of cells. That's really it. If you remember back to Bio 1, you remember protein synthesis. Long story short, cells make proteins. And then when the protein is made, sometimes they get kicked out of the cell and go to some other body part, right? Well, a gland is a group of cells all making the same protein. Sebaceous glands, if you look down at this picture, near the hair root surrounded by the hair follicle, attached to that follicle is a clump of cells. Actually, the better picture up here, a clump of cells. And each one of those cells are all going through protein synthesis and making the same protein. In this case, they're making a fluid called sebum. You probably know it better as oil or grease. If your hair gets really greasy, if your skin gets really greasy, that's called sebum. And it is a good thing because your skin prefers oil, not water. If you want to keep your skin hydrated, you want to use oils. That's why we don't treat your skin with water-based products. We use creams, we use oil-based products. And we create it ourselves naturally as well. So actually, washing your face or shampooing your hair too often can be a bad thing. You're getting rid of your natural hydration. And then sweat glands. This is your last vocab word. It's a gland that produces sweat. And it is mostly water, but there are other proteins involved, and that's all being made right here. And when the sweat is made, it travels up the sweat duct and then comes out onto your skin. All right, so those were your 13 words dealing with the integumentary system. Do yourself a favor, go back on Google Classroom, check, see if I left you any work, and I will see you in the next video.